Hi everyone, my name is Robbie and welcome to another episode of Silence in the City. So, for this episode, I'd like to tackle the question, what is an angel and why should I care? First off, I think it's helpful to just set aside how we commonly imagine angels, like beings with wings and all that, wearing white halos, just set that aside. I find it helpful to just set aside completely. So, two things about angels. One, the word angel is actually a verb. So it doesn't refer to a being, but more of an action that's carried out by spirits. So the act of an angel is to declare. It declares, it tells, it sends a message or brings a message. So whenever angels appear in the Bible, they're always bringing something, they're always declaring something, bringing some news, some message. And so the word to evangelize, is like being an angel to spread the gospel. Number two, the beings that carry out this angel act or this angelic act in the Christian tradition are pure spirits. So when we say pure spirit, again, I find it helpful to not think about it like a ghost or something floating or walking through walls, things like that. So as a spirit, I find it helpful to think of a spirit as a disembodied mind. So what's a disembodied mind? When us human beings, we when we think, when we reason out, when we decide, when we will, all our thoughts and our thinking, we have this idea of a mind, right? Like we can make up our mind. The mind is different from the brain. So the brain is the organ inside the skull. So that's tissue and whatever else that's in there, neurons. So that's the organ that's found inside the skull. The mind is not the same as a brain. So the mind is separate from the brain. It's what thinks, or those are like the contents, we would say, of our thoughts or our will, etc. So the mind is different from the brain. But for us human beings, we can't separate the mind from the brain. Like we cannot think if we don't have a functioning brain to some degree. So if you kill off the brain, you kill off the mind. So in a sense, our minds are embodied. Our minds are dependent on the physical brain to varying degrees. For angels, they're just a mind in a sense. Like they're just a mind and that's it. So an angel, or sorry, a pure spirit thinks, wills, reasons out without a brain. It's just a mind. So, and that's what makes a spirit powerful. Not because it has like superpowers, supernatural powers, or things like that, but because when a spirit thinks, it's not affected by time and space. Like a spirit, because it doesn't have a physical form, it's not affected by time and space. So, for example, for me as a human being, when I decide to do something, I think of something, my thought kind of like simmers in my head, my thought forms in my head. Sometimes it takes time for me to gather my thoughts, and then eventually, when I gather my thoughts, or my thoughts form, I can now actualize them. I can execute them in the physical world. And that also takes time. So from forming my thoughts to executing them in the physical world, it takes time. And during that time, distractions can come in. So while I'm planning something, for example, I have a project or a vision or a goal, I'm planning something, distractions will come in. So I might not be able to carry out my original thought. I might fail to execute it, or so I might end up executing something different precisely because from original thought formation to actual execution, a time will pass in between. So a lot of things can happen during that time period. Angels don't suffer that problem. So angels, for example, when an angel praises God, um, the angel goes all out. Right? So when the angel decides, I'm going to praise God, instantly it happens. Instantly, from from thought to action for an angel, there's no time. So it's instant. It's pretty much the same thing, thought and action. So, and there's no self doubt. So one of the things that can happen as I'm thinking of something, it takes time for me to actualize my thoughts, to execute my thoughts. Self doubt can creep in. That doesn't happen with an angel. So when an angel decides, okay, I'm going to praise God, angel goes all out. It doesn't have any self doubt. When an angel decides to rebel against God, same thing, it also goes all out. So it doesn't have second thoughts. Am I doing the right thing? Maybe I shouldn't rebel. Maybe he's really a good God after all. No, it's just all out. Decision, execution, all in one go. So why should I care about that? Like, okay, so that's what an angel is. Why should I care? Well, I think that it's a great benefit to try to emulate that, to try to think like an angel, mainly by trying to shorten the time it takes to, or shorten the time between thought formation and execution in the physical world. So the shorter the time it takes, the less distractions, or I can become more hyper aware of the distractions that might creep in. Maybe, let's say, when I have a certain plan or something or a project, and then I hit some self doubt or I have some self doubt, I can quickly try to see, is it a legitimate red flag in my plans, or is it just self doubt, which is a distraction, I think. Right? So is it a red flag, like a legitimate red flag I should listen to, or is it a distraction? Because if the moment comes, or if I can decide right away that it's a distraction, then I can just toss it out. In a sense, it becomes like being efficient with my thoughts. And I think this is what pure in thought means. What it means to be pure in thought is to be efficient, not to let my thoughts wander around. Angels don't daydream. I don't think they do. I don't see how angels can daydream because, or they can't experiment or explore ideas because they know everything that is possible to know. So, because they can't learn, like angels cannot learn because they can't change. Being pure spirits, they don't have physical bodies or brains, so they can't change over time because there's nothing to change. You can only change if you're a physical being. So they can't change over time. Therefore, they cannot learn, they cannot be educated, they cannot acquire new knowledge because, like, acquiring new knowledge, that act takes time, like, it occurs over time. So, angels can't do that. So, they can't learn, they know everything that there is to know already. So, they're very efficient with their thoughts. They're 100% efficient because they don't waste thoughts. In a sense, there's no need for them to like explore or think about things. We can't be like that. Since we don't know everything, we cannot know everything, and our minds are fallible. We cannot be 100% efficient with our thoughts like angels are. When I plan a project, when I begin a project or a plan, I can acquire new information that might tell me to stop completely or continue or maybe change course. And so what's left for me to do is I try as much as I can to not let my mind wander, to trim my mind of thoughts that might just be weeds, and just focus on the flowers that have a chance of growing, of flourishing to full bloom. Now, when I say I don't let my mind wander, that might mean I'm killing my creativity, right? I don't think so. When I say, or when I think of a wandering mind, it's really a mind that has no direction. Like it just like wanders aimlessly, uh, and doesn't make an effort to focus itself, to direct itself in a certain manner. So maybe in our world today, for example, I try not to let myself get distracted by, I don't know, YouTube where this video is on, or things like that, social media. Uh, Not to let myself down that sinkhole, right? To not just mindlessly scroll up and down or whatever. So that's one example. Or I try not to just like, I try, like, for example, when I'm writing a first draft of an essay or content for a video, I just let my mind wander, but it's not an aimless wandering. Like it's I'm trying to articulate my thoughts. I'm trying to put them in a certain direction. So it's very tricky. Like it's very tricky to steer our minds or to put them in a direction. And I think that's part of the devil's distraction, to try to not let our minds be focused. So that's it for now. How to think like an angel for this video. Yeah, it's really about that focus, that hyper awareness of distractions. You can't be 100% efficient, but you keep on trying to keep on that. I don't want to say narrow, like narrow minded focus, no, but to stay on track. And I personally have found it's liberating. It allows me to be more productive in a sense. So, yeah. So, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube. And I'll catch you guys the next time.